It is a little bit embarrassing to watch that, to be honest. Not because of what I said. I'm perfectly comfortable with the way I handle things, and I've tried to be as honest as I possibly can. But tonight's about the players, and I've always felt that the jumper presentation night is the most significant night for the players, and it certainly was at the two clubs that I was previously with. And judging by tonight, I'm sure you'd agree it is a players' night, not a night for board members and coaches, etc., etc. But what I would say, as Ian said, I think it's fantastic to be here at the MCG. It's just great. I mean, every time you come to this venue, and I suppose people have asked me a lot about how I'm enjoying being back in Melbourne. It's hard not to enjoy Melbourne when you're at Amy Park and you're just across the road from the MCG. It's an iconic venue, and I've been really fortunate in my life to travel around the world and to be some of the great venues around the world, great sporting venues around the world. And this is as good as any place I've ever been. So it is fantastic. And, you know, as a player, I used to love walking out there and playing on the ground. Didn't get a lot of time to play there, but playing in the 96 grand final and obviously 2005 holds great memories for me. So it's fantastic to be back at this venue and be part of what is a great Melbourne Football Club. And I'd just like to reiterate what the boys have said, Glenn and Peter, about it's been a tough couple of years, obviously, but to see so many people here and so many people jumping on board, I think is really significant for me as a senior coach, and I know it's significant for the players. So I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I want to thank those people who are on the waiting list, unfortunately didn't get in, but thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I had an opportunity today, I guess, to talk to the parents of the young players and some not so young, like Crossy and Bernie, but coming to new club. I had the opportunity to talk to the parents today, and I guess what I wanted to reflect on with them is what sort of club do we want to be? What sort of club do we want to be? And I know Glenn and Peter both shared these views. And I'm really, really pleased. I guess the starting point of a football club is the board. And the three words I wrote down about it, the board, is supportive, well-informed, and silent. And I know sometimes that can be pretty hard for board members because they're very, very successful individuals in their own right. But I think often boards are like umpires. Good umpires you don't notice, and I think good boards you don't necessarily notice. And the reason you don't is because the football club is in good shape. The less the board has to do, the better the shape the football club is. And I think we all we have a strong, powerful board and a new board, but I'm sure we all want a silent board and a supportive board and a well-informed board, and I think we're on the way to having some success in that. I think it was interesting just reflecting on, going through the process pretty publicly, but, my hat's off to Peter Jackson, who came back to this football club and has made a significant difference to the football club. And I think one of the most important things about being a successful organisation is identifying where you are at any given point in time. And Peter had a clear understanding of where this football club is, and we don't want to keep reflecting back. But in order to move forward, you have to understand where you're at as a football club. And probably the worse it sounded, and Peter was pretty honest and he didn't sugarcoat it, but the worse it sounded, the more exciting it got for me as a coach coming back, and what a great challenge it was. But I think what Peter's done more significantly is put a great management team around him, and just the energy and the enthusiasm and the professionalism of the staff at the Melbourne Football Club is certainly second to none. And I think from the board now to the management of the football club, they're in fantastic shape. And I know, unfortunately, I got stuck up the back there, Peter. I don't know why. They're in the back corner up there. They're obviously late to book, the staff, but up the back there. But it's just every day going to work and every day interacting with the staff is just an absolute pleasure. So I certainly want to congratulate Peter and all his staff. I know it's been a really tough time for them, but it's great to see their smiling faces and their enthusiasm and the way they attack their job. So thanks to that crew before the season starts. I got a chance to catch up with Bronte and Chad from AHG yesterday, and we talked a little bit about it. I mean, what is a sponsor now? I mean, 20-odd years ago, 30 years ago when I first started playing football for Fitzroy, the sponsors pretty much put their money in and expected nothing in return, and got a couple of signs here and there. I mean, it really is about relationships now. And we're really, really aware as a player group and as a football department our responsibility to the sponsors. And already my interaction with all the sponsors And I know, thankfully, Peter and Glenn have mentioned all of them, and I'll forget a number of them. But all the interaction I've had with the sponsors has been exceptional, from the trip that Robbo and I got up at Tourism NT to the hospitality of AHG, Ricky Knight's an old mate of mine, and to see China Southern Airlines come on as late as this week. And what it does, Hertz and New Age caravans, etc., what it does is it gives us great strength and great confidence that we are heading in the right direction. And I think that's just super important. I can't say enough to the sponsors how important it is for a 2 and 20 team to have so much support. And, success is a relative term, but I guess the club that I was previously with, and what we want to create, this football club, that our sponsors are long-term sponsors, and they're proud to be part of this football club, win, lose or draw. And people want to be associated with the Melbourne Football Club, and that's something that we're very serious about trying to generate for our club. But I certainly thank all the sponsors that have come on board, obviously in some pretty tough times, and those that have come on board earlier on and endured some tough times, and certainly some of the more recent ones. So thank you very much to all the sponsors. I guess one of my main roles as a coach is to get some expertise in the staff, and I think what we have to provide the players, and what I talked to the parents this morning is, my role as senior coach and our role as a football department is to have the elite expertise in the competition. And certainly from the medical, the fitness, our football coaches, list management, Josh and his crew, I think we now have established a really elite environment that our players can be proud of and can go to work in the knowledge that they're going to become better players. And so for all the staff that I exist with every single day, I've got enormous confidence in you guys and what we can provide for the players. And I think at this stage, you guys are all doing a fantastic job. I think the main thing, just to reminding the staff, and this is certainly relevant to the football staff, the only reason that I'm up here tonight is for the players. That's the only reason we exist as an organisation. That's the only reason we exist as a football club, to make every single one of the players on the list the best possible players they can be, and that's why we're here. And as long as we all understand that in the football department, then I know with the expertise that we do have, we will be a very, very successful football department and a successful football club. So congratulations to Peter and Glenn. Football is basically a people business. It's about getting good people, and Peter touched on the culture, but cultures only start when you have good people. So I'd certainly like to thank and just say how proud I am to be now part of this football club, and thank everyone involved in the football club. As I said before, this really is a players' night. I mean, it's a very, very exciting night for the player group, and it does kick off 2014. And I'd like to congratulate all the players that have got their jumpers tonight. It's a fantastic effort. But I probably just want to talk a little bit about just two groups of players in particular. And I guess firstly is the young players that are playing for this football club for the first time. And what I want to say, you are not the saviours of this football club. You are here to learn, you are here to listen, and you are here to develop. Too often in the past, unfortunately, this football club has put up these young blokes as the saviours of the club. They are not here to be the saviours of the football club. They are here to learn, listen, and develop, and eventually, if they do that, they'll get good habits and become very, very successful players. And that's the role. One of the things I said to the parents today, and bearing in mind I've got a 17 and 19-year-old, a dying art, and I've said this to the players a couple of times, is listening. Listening. If you want to be a good player, listen. It is a dying art. So to those young players, certainly I'd love you to listen. And if you listen to the expertise and the coaches, you're going to be a very, very good player in the long term. I think, significantly to some of the guys that came across from other clubs, I'd like to thank you for the faith you had in us. I think Bernie and Aidan and Daniel and Dom and Viv Mitchie guys come from other clubs, and not one of those boys had any real fears about coming to a football club that were 2 and 20. They were very, very excited about coming to the football club, and that again gave, I think, the players that have been here for many, many years, all of which we've seen here tonight, and particularly Grimesy and Nathan, I think they gave them some real confidence as well that some quality individuals and some quality players had agreed to join the football club. So I want to thank those boys as well. It meant a lot to me as a coach, and I know it meant a lot to the players also. To the leaders of this football club, and I guess I was reminded during the week what a significant role the leaders of the football club do have when I ran into two old teammates of mine, Gary Wilson, who those of you would remember, I don't know, was Tulip in the room? Robbie Flower, where's Tulip? Is Tulip here or not? Is he couldn't afford a ticket tonight? Two of the best players I've ever seen are Robbie Flower, and I got a chance to play on Robbie out here on the wing, and Gary Wilson was one of the best players I've ever played. And Gary walked into a coffee shop I was in with Tammy the other day, Monday, and it was like seeing a really old, close friend. And I don't see Gary very often, but to sit down and spend 20, 30 minutes with him just reminded me of the life lessons that he gave me as a young player coming to the football club. As a 17, 18-year-old boy going to the Fitzroy Football Club, I was so lucky to be exposed to the leaders of that group, and to spend 20 minutes with Gary Wilson really wound the clock back for me as to how really fortunate I was for the leadership group. On Wednesday, an old mate of mine, Laurie Serafini, asked me to go and talk to his daughter's rowing club at MLC, so I ducked out there. And again, on the way out, Laurie and I spoke about the old days, and on the way back we spoke about them again. And as I said, I can't reiterate enough to the leaders of this football club the responsibility that they now have to guide and nurture and teach the young people that come through this football club. And that's what great football clubs do. They have great leaders that hand down behaviours to the next generation, etc., etc., etc. And there's no question, when I look back on my career, as significant as I thought the coaches were, the leaders were far and away more significant to my career than what the coaches were going through. And that was no disrespect to Robert Walls and David Park and etc., etc. But the leaders of that club, of that Fitzroy Football Club, was so much more significant to me than what the coaches were. And I just want to reiterate that. Leadership group's a term that's thrown around a lot. It's not about who's in the leadership group or necessarily the makeup. It's about what you do when you get in the leadership group and how hard you drive the rest of the team and rest of the group. So to the leaders, I'm enormously comfortable with who they are, but it is a great responsibility if you want to make this football club great. But I'm extremely comfortable of who they are, and I'm very confident they're going to put this football club finally on the path to success. I just want to touch on just finally the three games, I guess, that we've played so far. I guess they're a good indication, I suppose, of what we've done and also where we're at. And I thought the Richmond game, did show from the time that I did meet with the leadership group and the honesty that Jack and Nathan, they were very, very honest with me, and I did sense that they were a group that did want to be successful, and I did sense they were a group that just wanted some guidance and some direction and some real understanding about how to play football, to get to the highest level and to get out here on grand final day. And I think, the Richmond game for me was just a reinforcement that they are a really good player group. Do want to learn and do want to listen, and I think the fact that we've come so far in such a short space of time is testament to every player on the list and every player that's come to training every session and worked hard. And so it was a fantastic start for the football club to kick off with a win, and certainly really important for the football club, really important for the players. But it just showed, that if you work hard, you can make some significant improvement in a short period of time. The following week against Geelong, and bearing in mind we've played three pretty good teams, certainly over the 3 weeks. The following week against Geelong, I guess they jumped out to a pretty big start, and the word that springs to mind is the resilience, and that was probably one of my greatest fears. As a coach, how much would they continually look back rather than not worrying about what's happened in the past and continue to look forward. So it was fantastic that particular day up in Alice Springs to be belted in the first quarter, belted in the third quarter, to come back in the second quarter, come back in the fourth quarter, and barring a few horrible turnovers, we were very, very much in that game against, as I said, an extremely, extremely good football team. So again, the improvement was palpable, and you could tell that the players were learning and listening and wanting to execute exactly what we want them to do. I guess fast forward to last week, and in a strange way, I stand here and now thank Alistair Clarkson for the standard that he's set for everyone. Alistair Clarkson and Ross Lyon, the two grand final teams from last year. And what we found out last week is, as much as we've improved, if we want to just take on the best and don't do the things we work on, we're going to get belted, because the standard and the best in this competition is very, very, very good. And to go from 17th to 1st is very, very, very difficult. But it did expose us in a sense that if we don't want to do what we're told and we don't want to do what we think as a collective, we as in the players and coaches have agreed upon, if we don't continue to do that, then we will not be able to compete with the worst teams in the competition, let alone the best teams in the competition. So it was a very, very valuable lesson dished out by Alistair and the Hawthorn Football Club. And they're, at the moment, everything we want to become as a football club. And as I said, I really thank Alistair for it, for setting such a high standard for everyone to follow, but also to play their football in a pure sense, in a physical sense, but a fair sense, and to set a real benchmark for this competition. And it's a tough benchmark, but it's a great benchmark to want to chase. And to watch them play last week, I can't believe going into the season that people haven't got them favourite to win the grand final after their pre-season form. They're the incumbent premiers, and they're certainly in very, very good form early in the season. But it was certainly a great lesson for us as a football team that we still have a long, long way to go if we want to get to where we want to get to. But the previous 2 weeks showed we are more than capable of competing when we do the basic things in football well over and over and over and over again. And just finally, the message to the players as we go into 2014. I believe in every single player on this list. I'm not waiting for anyone to come through the door, and I'm very, very comfortable with the list that I've been given and the list that we're developing under Todd Viney and the recruiting boys. I'm very, very comfortable as I stand here today going into 2014. But the bad news is, for the players, as important it is, the people at this football club, being Peter and Glenn and myself and the coaches and all the staff, that you will make the biggest difference to this football club. You will make the biggest difference to the football club. There is no magic formula, there is no magic pill. You will make the biggest difference, and you can make the biggest difference. Football is like life. You make choices in life, you make choices in football. If you make the right choices, we won't have to wait that long to get this club to where it should be. Thank you.